So, Ginger,
Yeah?
you know how we wanted to start a podcast, but we were having trouble coming up with a topic?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my pitch. The topic of the podcast is us trying to come up with the topic for the podcast.
What, like we pitch each other podcast ideas and that's the podcast?
Yeah, exactly. We could call it, What Should Our Podcast Be About?
Miles, that's really stupid. Let's do it.
What should this song be about? I'm trying to figure it out. What should this song be about? Could you perhaps help me out? I've had a moment of doubt. What should this song be about? Welcome to What Should Our Podcast Be About? The podcast where we try to figure out what this podcast that you're listening to right now should be about. I'm Miles Grover.
And I'm Ginger Barham.
And it is our end of the year Spectacu-ganza. For this one, we're just going to talk about our episode ideas that we had on previous episodes that we did not end up talking about as our main thing for that episode. And I went back through all of our episodes from this year.
Yes, thank you for doing that.
And there were 154 ideas we didn't use. Although, to be fair, some of those ideas were Shrew Crime podcast and things like that where we basically had
we probably don't need to discuss.
Didn't have much. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go through the list. A lot of these I'm just going to read it and then we're going to go, okay, and then probably move on. But if there's any that catch our eye or whatever, we can talk more about those. Okay. So again, 154 ideas on this list.
Strap in, everyone.
Strap in. Also, for most of these, I just grabbed the list that I had put in the episode description for that and intentionally didn't try to remember what it actually was. So some of these we may not even know what they were.
Yeah.
And I think that could also be fun. So
Right.
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see how good our memories are.
Maybe it'll inspire some other idea too.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Okay. So starting at number 1. Yes, Virginia, there is a pigeon.
Yes, that was my, we refute birds are a lie.
It was like refuting an idea that nobody actually really thinks is
Yeah.
true anyway. Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
I don't really think that one has.
No, I don't. It doesn't have, pigeons have legs, but
Pigeons have legs, but I don't think the idea does.
no. Okay. Number 2, dude, where's my podcast?
That's the one where you get stoned, right?
No.
No.
No, that's smoke weed every day. That's later on the list.
Oh,
I
okay.
remember that one. But
Okay.
no, dude, where's my podcast? It's pretty much just the title. A podcast where we...
Was it a Dude, Where's My Car fan cast?
Yes, that's right. It was.
Okay.
It was. We just watched that every week, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Moving on. Number 3, koala crimes. Because koalas have fingerprints that are
Right.
indistinguishable from human fingerprints. So we don't know how many crimes koalas are committing at any given time that is getting pinned on humans.
Yeah.
Right? That bank robber could have actually been a koala.
Right. But what's the idea there? Like, what's the format?
It's a false crimes podcast, I guess,
Okay.
where we
but
talk about koala. I don't know.
we just
That's
make
it.
up crimes that koalas could have feasibly done. Talk about koala bank heists
Maybe,
and such.
yeah. I don't know. Koalas are very stupid, as I think we talked about at the time. But so
And
are
they
some
all
bank
have
robbers
chlamydia.
and stuff, right? They do tend to have chlamydia, I guess, or
Yeah,
whatever.
they all have chlamydia.
And they eat
I read that.
eucalyptus.
I read they all have chlamydia.
They eat eucalyptus. This could be a koala facts podcast.
Koala facts.
Okay, number 4, weirdest conspiracy theories, which I think we rejected because basically we would just be adding to the pool of conspiracy theories that people could
Yeah.
believe in or whatever.
And also, conspiracy theories just aren't as fun anymore now that QAnon exists.
right, now that they're
Now
kind
that
of
people-
mainstream.
Yeah, and people use them to be awful.
I think people always did that, but it's more of a thing.
It's not as funny now, though.
Yeah, it's less funny.
It's not as funny now that it's repeated in the news.
Right. Now that we have to take it more seriously, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 5, the superb owl, which was our getting sports ideas wrong.
Oh yeah,
thing.
yeah. Yeah, that could be kind of
The
fun.
Indy 500 is a 500 indie bands playing at
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a fun one.
once. Yeah.
We might put a pin in that one.
Okay, superb owl maybe. Number 6, we watch all of Nicolas Cage's movies.
Watch all of Nicolas Cage's movies. Well, that has the plus of we're gonna do that anyway, probably.
Probably at some point. Yeah, that one is a somewhat legit idea for a podcast. I feel like you could definitely make a real podcast about that and get, quite a few episodes out of it.
I could for sure spend quite a bit of time talking about Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, in his movies.
In his movies, yes.
Okay, well, so I guess we'll think about that one. Number 7 was Svetlanography, which was, I think, just a biography of Svetlana as a podcast.
Right. And we rejected that because she, no offense, Svetlana, but has not lived a whole lot of life yet.
No, not that much. She hasn't had that many things happen to her. She's not
Yeah.
like Anne Frank or somebody who
Yeah.
actually would get a biography, right?
Yeah.
Number 9, celebrity pun names for animals. That was one of yours.
You skipped Svetlana Google,
Oh, I did. Sorry. Number 8, Svetlana Google,
which is where Svetlana tries to beat Google.
where we ask Svetlana a question and also ask Google a question.
And we decide which one was better.
Yeah, her idea was we vote on which one was better, but I think it's more just like comparing them or whatever. But
Yeah.
okay, number 9, celebrity pun names for animals. I'm sure that was definitely a Ginger idea. I don't remember what your examples were. Or I think you maybe didn't have a lot of examples.
Hunter S. Tomcat.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Recently suggested for our friends Kyle and Priscilla that they name their cat Elvis Costello, which I still think is an excellent name.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. They're not celebrities as far as I know. Kyle and Priscilla.
No, the cat is the
Oh, that's right,
celebrity because
that's right.
all cats are celebrities.
That's right. All cats think they're famous.
Yes.
I think I said that in my
The
comic.
Great
one time.
Gatsby I was also pretty proud of.
Yeah, the Great Gatsby.
The Great Gatsby. I'm sure both of those are ones that someone else has already come up with.
Yeah, and I feel like it'd be sort of weird to just be like, Catsby, come on. You know, like when you're calling your
But
cat.
Elvis is a fine name for a
Elvis,
cat.
yeah, it makes me think of Clarissa Explains It All and her
Yeah.
little crocodile named Elvis or
Yeah.
whatever.
I think the cat is a girl. Not that it matters for a
No,
cat.
it doesn't.
But
yeah. But I don't think it's really a podcast.
I mean, I want to keep talking about it, but it's
Yeah.
fine.
I don't think there's a whole podcast there.
Yeah. Well, it's a fun game.
Also, it isn't specifically for cats, but all the options
The cat
were for
ones,
cats,
the cat
so-
ones are pretty fun, and I do gravitate towards cats immediately.
Right.
Someone
sure.
once told me that even if they didn't know I had cats, they would guess I had cats
Yeah,
because I
cat
have
lady
strong,
energy.
strong cat lady energy.
Yeah.
That was a good day for me. That compliment.
Yeah. I feel like you're also like a bats person, and a lot of the same ones could work. The Great Batsby, I guess. is
Yeah.
pretty good, actually.
Wait, are you saying I have strong bat energy?
Bat Lady?
I have strong bat lady energy?
I guess so, somewhat.
Because I'm cool with that too.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on.
All
Number
right.
10, Bird of the Day podcast. So that's a daily podcast where we talk about a bird.
Right. And then we also had the same bird every day podcast.
That's number 11, the same bird every day. A parakeet, I guess, I think is what we said.
Yeah.
We just talk
It would
about
just be a
parakeets every
parakeet.
day.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would pick parakeet as the one bird, but that's what I
That's
feel like we
the
talked
that's
about.
the common one, right? That's like the bird that people get if they're going to get a bird and they don't want to put too much work into
Yeah, I
it.
guess so. They're the
That-
same as
that-
budgerigars, aren't they?
What?
Parakeets, aren't they the same as budgerigars?
What?
Budgies? Budgerigars?
Budgie. I've heard parakeets called budgies.
Yeah, budgerigar.
I
think.
didn't know the full name though. I'd never heard that.
Oh, well, that's what budgie is short for, I believe.
I-
unless I'm crazy and just made that up right now.
I
I'm
hope
pretty
you
sure.
just made it up.
No, I don't think so, but that would be weird.
Don't add us because we're not on Twitter.
Don't
We won't see
don't
it.
correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, number 12 was rate animals by what kind of a guy they are. And we sort of folded that into our don't even get me started idea.
I feel like we also kind of touched on it with our like hats for animals.
That's true. That's kind of an indirect, similar thing.
Yeah.
A lot of these are going to have similar echoes throughout because turns out we are the same people
Yeah.
in episode 1 as
Please
we are
send
now.
us your ideas.
We are the same people as we were then, and so we only have our own ideas. But yes, send us your ideas. Number 13, Bad Business Podcast.
Is that just where we give bad business advice?
I think so.
Okay. Which I think we discussed would probably be any advice that we wouldn't really have to try. Any advice that we're going to give for business is probably going to be bad advice.
Right,
'Cause we're just
probably.
not business people.
We're not business people, and we're also not like knowledgeable enough about business to give bad business advice that's like funny if you do know about business, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going. We have 14 and 15 are how do we get rid of panda bears and how do we save panda bears?
So, and
Some of these
we've
are-
discussed that panda bears are already doing a pretty good job of getting rid of themselves.
Right. Some of these are suggestions from listeners.
Yeah. I mean, I do always
Or
want to talk
friends.
about panda sex. So,
Right. We talked about panda sex, panda foreplay, and things like that.
no, I'm saying we should put a pin in that one because you know how I love to talk about panda sex.
Yes. That is what happened in the last episode where we talked about this.
Well, I mean, you put it on the list,
I
so
did.
clearly you also wanted to talk about panda sex.
Yes. Okay. Moving on. Number 16, coming up with band names.
I want to talk about panda sex right now.
Coming up with band names. I think we said it was kind of like make up a band and then pick a name for it.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
come up
Yeah.
with something
We used to
like
do
that.
this with the magnetic poetry on the fridge a lot. Like superfluous zombies, or, you
Okay,
just put
sure.
things together and
Sure. And you're like, okay, that could be a good
Yeah.
band name. Yeah.
superfluous zombies is actually not
Superfluous
bad.
Zombies isn't bad.
Yeah.
It's not really a podcast, though.
Zombies are kind of superfluous if you have enough of them.
I'd suggest that there's a right amount of zombies, right? Which I
Yeah.
don't know that there is, but
Well, that's what I'm saying. The right amount is 0, so zombies are superfluous.
so all zombies are superfluous. Okay, yeah, sure. But superfluous zombies is still a pretty decent name. Number 17, a life coach who doesn't have their shit together.
That one was listener idea.
It was.
Thank you, Dina.
Yep. And I think we said that's all life coaches. And also we said,
That would certainly be us as life coaches. We don't have our shit together, so if we did a life coach podcast, it would be that.
it would be that. It's at the extreme end of it. It's just the Chris Farley character who lives in a van down by the river. Matt Foley, but a podcast.
Right. Who out there has their shit together?
Some people probably do.
Do you think so? Because I feel like maybe we're all just giving the appearance that we have our shit together
I feel
to
like
some
it's
extent.
I feel like it's a continuum, probably, because we have our shit together a lot more than some people do.
Right.
We have a
Yeah.
house. We pay our mortgage every month. We pay our bills most of the time.
Yeah.
Right. Like we have a kid. He's doing fine.
Yeah.
Right. Like our shit is mostly together, even if we
Yeah.
don't always
So
feel
you're
like
saying
it.
we would be good life coaches?
Not necessarily in that domain, but
Yeah.
I'm saying like it's a continuum. Some people have much less of their shit together.
It's fair. It's fair. It's varying levels, but I'm just saying nobody completely has their shit together.
Maybe, but that might also just be that we don't hang out with anybody who has their shit together. Because like, why would they want to hang out with us?
Are you dissing our friends?
No, I'm just saying us.
Yeah. I mean, I
Because anybody who,
definitely
like,
feel like I
truly
know
has their
people who have their shit more together, but they
Yeah.
still like don't completely.
Yeah, well, maybe when you say someone has their shit together, you still just mean mostly, I guess.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Okay. Another one that was suggested by listeners, interviewing random people instead of interviewing
Yeah,
famous
this was
people.
a favorite of yours.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
basically immediately rejected that one because that
Yeah.
doesn't sound fun to me at all.
Yeah.
And then we decided on toilet talk in, I think, the same episode or maybe the
Mhm.
next episode or
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah, which for some reason appealed to you. Interviewing random people on the street? No. Knocking on random doors? Yes.
But we have a specific goal in mind, which is finding out about their toilet in
Yeah.
that case.
Yeah. But they might invite you in and be like, curious to hear your thoughts on their toilet. And that is a risky situation to put
Yeah,
yourself in.
yeah.
Anyway, so interview randos. We can't really explore it further anyway.
Yeah, right. There's no randos here.
We
to
don't
explore
have
except-
any randos in our house.
Yeah, hopefully, as far as we know.
As far as we know. We did find one mouse in the basement. I guess we could interview that
there
guy.
was a mouse in the basement this morning when I had to go into the basement, but I don't know that he's still there for one thing, or that he would be very forthcoming if we tried to interview him.
We could try to put a little hat on him.
Maybe. Number 19, this is another listener one. I think it was Dina again. Investing tips podcast that destroys millionaires.
Which we discussed, I think, is not something we would be very good at because we
Also-
don't know anything about investing.
Yeah, it's
But
not really.
we've loved the sentiment.
We like the sentiment, but it's not really. Podcasting isn't the right medium, probably, or at least our podcast isn't.
Yeah.
Because we'd first have to get a bunch of millionaires to listen to our podcast, and then we'd have to have advice that we know somehow would destroy them.
But that
And
they
then
wouldn't know.
And they wouldn't know, but then they'd have to take that advice, right?
Right. And they probably have people that do all of that for them, right? Like you get a certain amount of money, you hire a financial planner who's probably doing all your investing
or
for
whatever.
you.
Yeah.
And I think they go to school for that sort of thing, probably.
And rich people probably already are worried about getting ripped off by those people.
Yeah.
And so are probably sort of vigilant about it somewhat.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, they can't afford to lose any money.
yeah. Well, nobody gets rich by losing a lot of money, I guess.
I mean, yeah, but
Well, that's not true either, but sort of. Sort of. I don't know.
at a certain point, you could lose a lot of your money and still be fine.
Yeah. Here's how much we know about investing and stuff is
Yeah.
what you're hearing right now. Okay.
Yes.
A how not to podcast, a podcast on how to avoid doing stuff that you're supposed to do.
Oh, right. Procrastination.
Yeah. Basically,
Which we've discussed is not difficult.
is not a podcast anyone needs, or if they do, it's not a podcast we could provide, right? Like if we had tips for how to accidentally do the stuff you're supposed to do while procrastinating, then we would just do that instead of having a podcast probably. I don't know.
We could say how not to podcast, because I read it as how not to podcast, which is kind of this podcast already.
Also, not advice anybody really need. Most people really need.
Yeah.
Most people don't podcast every day of their lives.
Well, I meant how not to podcast, as in like how to make a bad podcast.
How to do a bad podcast.
Which is like,
yeah.
well, we're already
the
doing
do's and don'ts of podcasting.
Which we're already doing that, right?
Yeah, we're the don'ts. I
We're
guess.
the don'ts.
Yeah. Moving on, number 21 was a podcast where we pin crimes on Paul F. Tompkins.
Yeah, I mean that's a fun one, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much. I feel like it would run out of steam.
Yeah, it would probably run out of steam about as quickly as us talking about it right now has already done.
In fact, I think it already ran out of steam.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was a fun idea.
Yeah. And then we had another couple of ideas around. These are all false crime podcast ideas. So we had one where we invent ridiculous crimes that people did. Like I think you talked about Paul F. Tompkins robbing a bank or something.
Right.
And then we also had like, what if we just make up fake laws that are bad or we talk about them too.
Yeah, we invent ridiculous laws, or we did say maybe talking about existing ridiculous laws, no riding a horse on a Tuesday or
right, whatever, yeah.
Things along that line.
And then we also talked about different disguises for Paul F. Tompkins. We had a lot of Paul F. Tompkins material.
We had a lot of Paul F. Tompkins that day.
It was because he suggested a false crime podcast on some other podcast, and we were mad about it.
Right. He stole our idea.
Yeah, he stole our idea before we had it, which is very rude.
Rude, Paul F. Tompkins. Yeah, I mean, it was mostly we talked about he should wear a mustache over his existing mustache.
Yeah, or a mustache for his eyebrows.
Mustaches
I think we
for
said
eyebrows
as well.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Clearly, that one had a lot of legs.
A lot of legs on the mustaches. Little mustache guys. I don't know.
Little mustaches to distract from your mustache.
Right. Paul F. Tompkins doesn't have three mustaches. This must not be Paul F. Tompkins. Moving on from him, we had my idea of a bad movie podcast, except we talk in Muppet voices.
Yeah, I still
or
am not
just
good
weird
at doing
voices.
a Muppet voice. Or really, I mean, I can do Kermit.
Right, you can do like Russian Kermit or whatever.
Russian Kermit.
I am Kermit.
I am Kermit. I can't do it well.
Right, okay. I think for that one, I mainly just wanted to say, "You're tearing me apart, Lisa," in like Kermit voice or
and
whatever.
you've said it now.
And I've said it more than once now.
It's pretty good.
It's kind of
Pretty
good.
good.
Number 26 is a podcast where we do bad celebrity impressions.
Uh-huh.
And we had a later idea that was similar that we'll get to, but there wasn't a whole lot of legs there for the same reason that you don't do celebrity impressions. Neither do I, really. I feel like maybe we could learn some, but
Yeah.
But, and then I think I suggested just doing impressions of people where you just do the same Kermit voice and pretend to like, I'm David Spade or something. I like whatever, like just name a random celebrity. But in
and
that
we
voice.
discussed that you just really want to do a Kermit
Yeah,
voice.
I guess so.
Which, you could insert into any of these ideas, really.
We had in our Toilet Talk episode, before we landed on Toilet Talk, we also talked about a podcast where we invent new toilets with new toilet capabilities, I guess.
Yeah.
Which-
I don't think there's a whole lot there.
Not too much there.
Flesh that idea.
We had one where number 28, a podcast where we read and describe comic strips. I read out 2 or 3 strips from Calvin and Hobbes from
It was
1988
awful.
or something, I think. It wasn't
Not
very
good audio at
It wasn't
all.
very good. And then we had another idea, number 29, to talk like Kermit and try to get pandas to have sex, called Pandamoningum.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should come back to that.
We had
one.
a lot of panda sex talk in that episode.
Yeah, we should come back to that one. Just, you know how I feel about panda sex.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know anything about you anymore, maybe. But we talked about number 30, a podcast about how landlords are bad. And we said that is true, but also would be a bummer of a podcast.
It would be a bummer of a podcast. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I have much more to say on that without bringing down the tone of this extravaganza podcast.
Yeah. I think it's a Spectacu-ganza, actually.
The Spectacu-ganza. I apologize.
We talked about a breastfeeding podcast, number 31, where you just breastfeed on the microphone.
Is that what that was?
Well, we'll get to a little bit more about that on number 33. But in the meantime, we also had number 32, which was an animal improvement podcast where we try to talk about how to improve animals, like how to make them more powerful or more cool or more funny or stuff like that.
Which, again, we kind of maybe touched on a little bit in our Hats for Animals podcast.
I mean, Tiny Hats is a way to improve just about any animal.
Yeah.
But I think it was more specifically like that little guy with the big, long, gross finger. Either we give him all those fingers or we just make him have all regular fingers.
Yeah.
Right. Depending on if we want to make him more powerful or less creepy.
Yeah. I mean, I think we make him more powerful for sure. Because, like, don't take away his cool long
his
finger.
One cool long finger, yeah. So number 33 was a podcast tapping into the untapped fetish podcast market.
Which came
from the breastfeeding thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Like.
I mean, that's probably ASMR for someone.
Yeah. My idea was that
babies do make really cute noises
sometimes
while they're eating.
Yeah, sometimes.
Rory used to kind of like gulp.
Like desperately. Like, gotta get more milk. Yeah. The fetish one was just, I was thinking there are lots of podcasts that are about fetish or about, the community or whatever, but not necessarily podcasts that people listen to get off,
Right.
But also that wouldn't really be that very much fun for us to do. So we moved on from that, I think.
Right.
Number 34 was a podcast where we review TV shows for babies. And I think we said we like take them really seriously. Like the show is so repetitive.
Yeah.
Why don't they get some new material or whatever?
I just don't think it's believable that old MacDonald would have that many animals on his farm.
Right. Or why does everybody need to know about it? Of course he has a chicken.
Why does Bingo keep forgetting how to spell his name?
Right. Yeah, stuff like that. Or like, why are the Teletubbies so freaking weird? Why do they have tellies in their tubbies?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, let's not talk about Teletubbies.
Okay. Number 35 was an idea where and this one I think still could be a kind of a good idea. First, your idea was we review all movies with bears, about bears, have bears in the title. Mm-hmm. And then you said, actually, a good idea would be sharks. And then we said, what about every season we switch animals?
Right.
And we reduce bears, sharks, and whatever other animals that people make movies about.
That's a good one. I think we might want to come back to that.
Yeah. I don't know what we would do on this one. I guess we could just talk about some movies about sharks that we've seen.
I could definitely come up with some.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the main idea would be we would watch a movie every week about a shark or a bear or whatever.
Yeah.
But
what if we decide to talk about this one? There are definitely animal movies that I have seen enough times that
you could talk about.
That I could talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. Number 36 was that Shrew Crime podcast I mentioned, which has no further information.
I don't think we need to talk about that one further.
I guess if there are a lot of movies about shrews, yeah.
It's a good pun.
It's an okay pun. It's almost okay.
You did it for the pun, right?
Yeah. Number 37 was All Other Podcasts Are Bad, where we go and review, we start at the top of the podcast charts and just listen to the podcast and then review it.
Yeah, I still don't want to do that.
Yeah,
it feels mean-spirited.
Well, and if they are bad, then we have to listen to a bunch of bad podcasts. And if they aren't bad, then we're in a awkward position.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, also, it's really hard to find time to listen to the podcasts that we do like. So
That's true. You had number 38, I Want a New Drug, which was you take a drug that fixes your problems. Like we imagine a drug that makes it so you don't, that you can go do all your cleaning really easily that you have to do, or that you don't say awkward things.
Which
to
I'm realizing
waiters.
now is just like probably meth, right?
Well, at the time I said it's called Adderall,
Yeah.
which is related to meth. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then we talked about I Want a New Duck, a podcast where we get a duck, and podcast about what happens then, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think we need to go into either of those.
Yep, we can skip those. All right. Number 40, a podcast where we're wizards. And I believe you were Flondo the something. What were you?
Shakeable.
Unshakable.
Flondo the Unshakable.
And I was Flautabas the Magnificent or something. And we would be wizards and talk about wizard stuff.
Yeah, that could be fun.
I
Let's
still
put a
think
pin
that
in
would
that
be
one.
fun, yeah. We had genre nonconforming, which was where we take rom-coms and turn them into horror movies, or other genre movies and turn them into different genres, which could be fun. I like the name. Genre nonconforming is pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good name.
We had number 42 was a Name That Tune podcast where we hum a tune at the other person and they try to guess what tune it is.
Yeah, I don't think we need to
No.
talk about that one much further.
Pretty bad idea. Number 43 was What Is This Bamboozlery, which was kind of like we talk about interesting or confusing or weird stuff we find out about, kind of like Wonderful, where they talk about things they like. And this would be like things that were interesting or confusing or something like that.
Mine feels a little bit too open-ended, maybe.
Maybe. We had number 44, Bizarro Book Club, where we take a book and we translate it through Google a bunch of times and then read the book we're reading the book like it's an audiobook, but it's been translated a bunch of times, so it's insane. Right?
Yeah.
Like we did Moby Dick and it was like, when Samhain comes, my face turns black, or whatever it was like.
Yeah.
In the damp November of my soul, I get
I
grim
feel like
about
that
the
fell
mouth.
into the mildly interesting category.
Yeah, I thought it was fun, but it would be.
I don't think it was particularly good audio.
I don't know if people would listen to it, but yeah. We had Should They Exist, which I think we
actually kind of did that because we did What I Wanted in My House.
right. We ended up doing that, and that was kind of similar, but a little bit different. Yeah.
So I don't think we need to.
Yeah. We had number 46, Joke Theory, where we like discuss different jokes or memes or different types of comedy and like what makes them funny. We dissect them, that kind of stuff, which was kind of more of a Miles would enjoy that than Ginger would enjoy that probably kind of podcast.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much people would listen. Although there is a podcast, I can't remember what it's called, that I listened to an episode or two of, where somebody like interviews comedians and talks about some of their jokes and like how they came about, or like what they were thinking when they did the joke, or what makes the joke work and stuff like that, which is kind of similar, but like actually interviewing the funny person or whatever. Actually, I think the episode I listened to had Paul F. Tompkins on it.
Yeah. I feel like that's a better podcast to make if comedy is your job.
Yeah.
Which
It's like a comedian's podcast for comedians.
Yeah. Which we're not really.
Yeah, I mean, not exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to claim to be super funny.
I do comics and I try to be funny on this podcast.
You, I think, have more experience in this area than I do.
Right.
I mean, I have a lot of experience making dumb jokes. I'm still very proud of my joke from this morning.
And what was that again?
That was where I told you we were watching Miss Rachel with our son.
Yep.
And I said, I remember when I was in kindergarten, my teacher showed me that if you cut an apple in half horizontally instead of vertically, it'll have a star shape in the middle. And you said, is that true? That's interesting. And I said, yes, I guess you could say it's one of my core memories.
Right. So dumb puns.
Dumb puns.
We could certainly analyze dumb puns on the Joke Theory podcast and what makes them fun or whatever.
I mildly enjoy analyzing comedy, but for the most part, I'd rather just laugh at it and move on.
Yeah, sure. We had your idea, which is number 47, the Angry Parent Magnet podcast, where we talk about stuff that we know that people online get really like toxic
like car
about.
seat safety and stuff
like that.
Yep.
And I said, no, I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We had number 48, Baby 1, Mom 0, where we talk about like the score of what the baby's accomplished against like what the baby's done to us versus what we've done to the baby. Is a weird way to say it, but like it's like, well, the baby got poop on me today, so that was 1 point for the baby. Whereas I took a funny picture of the baby in a hat So that's 1 point for me.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
I don't feel like we would have much to talk about there, really.
Yeah, it would be, and it would be a lot of the same thing every day, probably.
It'd be basically just us documenting happenings with our baby,
yeah.
which I already do extensively.
Right. And I don't know who wants to listen to that podcast
Yeah.
necessarily. We had number 49, smoke weed every day, which we mentioned earlier, where I try a different kind of weed every week and see how it affects me. And you didn't really like that idea. Nobody else probably really liked that idea.
And you'd have to smoke a
I'm
lot
not
of
even
weed,
sure
and
if I like that idea.
I don't think you like that
Yeah.
idea.
When was the last time I even smoked weed? Months ago at the very least.
I mean, was it even months ago?
Probably more than that.
I have no
yeah.
idea. Have you smoked weed since Rory was born? I don't
Yeah,
think so.
no, I have.
Yeah.
Once or twice, but yeah, not very often.
I don't know if we even have any weed, so.
Yeah, we probably don't. We could probably get some. It's not that hard to get anymore, but
Yeah.
it's basically legal now.
It is legal. It's legal here. We're
Yeah,
not criminals.
Well, it's not federally legal still, I think, right? But whatever.
It's legal. It's legal in this state.
Yeah. All right, number 50, we had a yurt cast where we talk about yurts, and that's all we had about that. We had number 51, which was Think About It, where one person comes up with a topic.
This was Svetlana's idea.
This was Svetlana's idea. One person comes up with a topic, and the other person has to make up a conspiracy theory about it, and then say "think about it" at the end. We had number 52, which was Showdowns Nobody Asked For, which is a podcast we tried to do before we landed on this idea, and we already know it didn't work out very well.
Yeah. I think we've already talked about that one quite a bit.
Yeah. We had number 53, Dream Podcast, where we just talk about our dreams, which was explicitly an idea about a podcast that nobody would want to listen to.
Yes, because everybody loves when people tell them about their dreams.
Right. We had number
And I don't mean like your dreams of singing on Broadway.
No, your literal dreams that you had last night
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
I want to hear about your dreams and aspirations. I do want to hear about that.
Nobody would want to listen to a random person's podcast where they just talk about their dreams and aspirations.
It depends
either,
on what the
probably.
dreams and aspirations are. It could be really interesting.
I don't think so. I don't think anybody's dreams and aspirations are interesting because they haven't done it yet. And anybody can have any
Well,
dream
what
or
if they want to
aspiration.
do a really interesting thing?
Like what?
I don't know. Everybody wants to write the great American novel, but I want to write the great Albanian novel.
Yeah, that's not that interesting.
Come on. Yes, it is. You want to hear more about it.
It'd be interesting if they had written the great Albanian novel, but just hearing that they want to is like,
I want to.
or even if they've tried and failed or something. But just,
I want to work with spiders.
people do that.
But don't you want to know more
No.
about what you want to do, what I want to do with spiders?
No, if you want to work with spiders, there's a path to do that.
What if I mean like I want to like work in a factory run by spiders?
Then you're just insane. And there's not much to that idea either. Like, okay, well, you can't do that. It's not a thing.
Okay, fine. We can move on.
We had a dating advice podcast, number 54. I don't even remember if there was an angle on that one, but
Yeah, I didn't even remember we had this idea.
I guess we mentioned it at some point. We had number 55, Clickhole Universe, where we talk about the expanded, like the universe that Clickhole articles take place in, I guess, where it would make sense that somebody who loves milk would get a
Oh, right. Yeah. We could talk more about Milky Tom.
get a license plate called This Is Milky Tom, or where Stephen King really wrote that novel about the skeleton that stands on a van and holds a traffic cone or whatever.
Yeah, and I don't know if we touched on this at the time, but I feel like this one might be tricky because like it is using somebody else's content.
True. And also, I don't think they're necessarily meant to be one cohesive universe. So we'd be making some leaps there. Number 56 was wine, WHINE, and cheese, which is like we complain about stuff and eat cheese.
Yeah.
The podcast?
Or drink wine?
That was not part of it, but we could.
I think it should be.
It could be.
I think it definitely should be.
We had number 57, which was Insomnia, the podcast that you listen to that tells you about how cool it is to not sleep, I think.
Right. I think maybe it would be more effective to make a podcast that helps people go to sleep, but
Right.
you didn't want to do
But
that.
that wasn't what it was.
Yeah.
We had number 58, Punch Up the Vegetable, about how to make vegetables better, I guess.
I guess. Okay. Yeah. There are some vegetables that are awful
Yeah.
that
But some
could
people
definitely
probably like
use
them.
some
But
punching up.
I think the answer is like saute it in butter, and that fixes almost every vegetable or makes it at least
that true?
palatable.
Is that
Palatable,
true?
pretty much. Maybe not every vegetable, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of the ones people don't like anyway.
Yeah.
Number 59, the official raccoon fan cast. I enjoyed that because how would it be official? There's no official
I'm a
body of
raccoon
raccoons.
and I approved this podcast.
Right.
I could talk about raccoons
A lot.
A lot.
Ad nauseum.
ad
Probably.
nauseum. So, I'm still on board with this one.
Yeah. We had number 60, Eat My Butt, Mr. Jenkins, which is a podcast where we come up with excuses for why you were late to work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like excuses to give your boss, I guess.
They're fun, but I think doesn't maybe have a ton of legs.
Yeah. We had, speaking of ones that don't have a lot of legs, number 61, Miles should drink coffee, where Ginger tries to get me to drink coffee.
Yeah.
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 Nope.
It's not working well for me today. So I did see a really great meme though that I sent you.
The frog with coffee?
That was a big fat frog boy holding a cup of coffee, and it said, "Maybe this is the cup of coffee that will finally fix me."
Yeah.
And that's how I feel most days. And don't you want to be part of that world?
I follow that Instagram now, so it's
You're
good
welcome.
enough. Yeah.
It's a good Instagram. It's Frog's Instagram.
It's like frogs vibing or something.
Frogs.vibing.
We had number 62. We look at photos and talk, like make up memories about them or something like that. We also had number 63 about awkward family moments.
What was that? Would just talk about like our awkward family moments.
Yep.
Oh, right. I told the story about my cousin.
Right.
Yeah.
Where you didn't recognize your cousin.
Yeah. Well, now I'm uncomfortable again.
Yeah. We had number 64, subway stories, where we get on a subway and get off at a random stop and then like talk about what was there when we got out.
Oh, yeah. That's a fun idea. Not as feasible now that we've moved.
We don't live near a subway anymore. We had number 65, which was just improvising a story, which could be fun. There's not too much to it, I guess, but could be fun.
It's improv the podcast.
Yeah, but specifically a story rather than just like jokes, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, hopefully it'd be funny, though.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
That's the idea. Number 66, what should this book be about? Where you had the same idea for the podcast as the podcast is, but it was a book instead of a podcast, I think.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think we need to go into that any further.
We had number 67, baby toy reviews, which we review like if it's good for the baby, if it's good for the parent.
Yeah, I feel like we have a little bit more experience on this now.
We have quite a few toys for our baby.
Anything with batteries is slowly dying.
Yep, because we haven't replaced the batteries.
We have not bought anything that takes batteries, but people have bought things that take batteries.
A lot of the baby toys that have batteries have a screw-on battery cover, so it's just such a like.
Actually, yeah, we did buy one thing that took batteries, but with the intention of not putting any batteries in it, which was a remote control that looked remarkably like an actual remote control, but still is not as interesting to our baby as the actual
real remote control. Yeah, because we don't use it, so he can't like grab it from us. And
sometimes when I put it on the couch, he's a little more interested in it. But yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like.
So there you go, baby remotes.
Having to unscrew a battery cover means I'm just not gonna put new batteries.
Right. No, totally. I mean, and it makes sense. You need to have that on a baby toy, right? Like, it needs to not come off.
It makes sense.
But it's also too much work.
We had number 68, fun ways for billionaires to die. That was your.
I still think
your idea.
Yeah, but I still am always up for talking about killing billionaires.
That was the one where I drew a picture of Ted Cruz and Jeff Bezos pissing each other's pants.
Yes.
Or pissing their pants while holding hands, and also Elon Musk.
I don't remember how we got to that.
I think we were saying that the best way for them to die would be like to do something super embarrassing on camera and then fall into the Grand Canyon. Basically. That's where we got there from.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, that was a lovely picture, and you can find it on our Instagram at WhatShouldPod.
Yep. We had number 69. Nice. Baby name reviews, where we like review people's names for their baby, I guess.
Yeah.
It could sort of be something, but
there's some bad ones.
There certainly are. And
a lot of them belong to Elon Musk.
Oh, that's true. X-229- whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like there's certain things that are like you're not allowed to name your baby, and like legally actually there are ones that you're not allowed to use.
Well,
and that should have been one of them.
in some countries they have actual laws about where they'll say like that name is harmful to your baby. In America, as far as I know, we don't have any laws like that. The only thing that they had to
we don't
change,
care about our citizens.
the only thing that they had to change about the name was like how it was spelled exactly, because like I think the special characters weren't available in California's like program for putting baby names in or something.
God, he's such a douche.
So I think they had to do like AE instead of the Ash ligature, which is the A and the E combined together.
How about a podcast where we talk about how awful Elon Musk is?
Yeah, that'd be a real bummer.
I saw an Elon Musk quote this morning that was like, I am against the idea of unions because I don't like anything that promotes like a lords and peasants relationship. I know, right? That's the reaction I had.
That could not be stupider. I mean, it's a thing that makes sense for him to say in his position as the fucking lord
right.
of his companies or whatever, but God.
Like, you're not one of us, dude. We don't claim you in any capacity.
It's literally the opposite. The point of it is to reduce the lord peasant.
Yeah.
Dynamic.
Well, we know
anyway,
that.
But anyway,
and
yeah.
he knows that. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. He's a fucking idiot.
An idiot. Yeah. Okay. Moving on, because I actually follow a subreddit about Elon Musk and his terrible stuff, and that bums me out a lot. And
yeah, he's a bummer. He's
just,
like, if a bummer were a person,
he sucks so bad. Yeah,
he's a bummer.
He's a bummer of a person in a lot of ways. Yeah. Okay. Number 70 was crazy names from history. We talked about, the crazy Puritan names like "If Christ had not died for thee, thou hadst been damned."
Oh, right.
And fly fornication and some of those funny things.
I think we got through most of what. I mean, I feel like all the funny names that we could easily find, we talked about.
Yeah, I had that list. I had some of those. I had a list of other names for, I forget who they were, some other historical group, pilgrims or something maybe. And then also I think that I talked about the list of dog names there.
Oh yeah, that's the next idea.
Well, the next idea, in the next episode, I think I went and found all the names and talked about those more.
And you made a generator.
And I made a generator on our website. I think it's coolpodcast.website/dog names or something like that. Or you can like.
Is it linked on our website?
I don't think it's linked. You just have to go to that URL.
Okay.
But the names of all manner of hounds.
Maybe you can insert it in here if that's not the right link.
Oh yeah, if it's not the right one. Okay.
You could go back and listen to that episode, listeners.
You could, or actually the one after, which is when I would have had the generator, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know.
Good luck.
Good luck.
We don't remember the things we said or did.
Also, I didn't note down what episode that was in because it wouldn't be in the title.
Oh,
right?
Because it's a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
You got to listen to all the episodes. Sorry.
We had number 72, superheroes, which was stupid superhero ideas, I guess.
Yeah.
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 This could be fun, I guess. I don't know.
Doesn't feel like a particularly unique idea.
No, yeah. We had number 73, bad versus worse, which was like a take on our good versus soup episode.
Oh, right. That was kind of a would you rather sort of thing.
Like, which is the worst of two things. Mm-hmm. And then the next one, number 74, was extremely medium. What's the most medium thing? Mm-hmm. I think we said like cooked rice. Cooked white rice was maybe the most medium thing we could think of.
Yeah.
We had number 75, Tales of the Highway People, which was where I found exit names where it's like the name of two towns that you would get to from this exit and it sounds like somebody's name.
Oh, right. Yes. Because we kind of enjoyed that in the car.
Yeah. When we're driving, it's like, oh, I'm going to go visit Troy Cahoes.
We're about to play that game for 6 hours.
Yeah. We're going to drive to Maine here in about a week. That'll be fun.
A podcast where we give tips for long drives with babies.
Or just a podcast where we're podcasting the whole time we're driving.
Yeah.
That would be a very boring podcast.
I got some good tips from my friend Chelsea for on baby car drives.
Yeah. We had number 76, the podcast where we obsess about the metrics of this podcast. That didn't really have much.
Is that because you do that sometimes?
I don't really, but I just had been looking at the metrics or whatever.
Subscribe to our podcast.
Please subscribe and rate it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We had number 77, Snakes on a Podcast. Which
And you just wanted that title, I think.
I don't know if there's more than that. It's just like taking.
It's like a snake fan cast.
Yeah, I guess it's about snakes. Yeah, snakes are fine. That's fine, I guess.
I like snakes.
Snakes are, yeah, they're cool, I guess.
I have on multiple occasions Googled snake wearing hat because there's a particular picture of a snake in a little top hat that I really love and that I find occasion to share as much as possible. So
right. Not great for an audio medium.
No. But maybe I'll put that on our Instagram so that it can live there forever. And then I won't have to Google it. I can just go to our Instagram.
Yeah, sure. That's a life hack. We had number 78. I'm pooping Brittany.
Okay, I don't remember what this one was
This
about
one
at all.
was-
It's all in caps.
Yes, this one was graffiti that I saw on like the toilet paper thing
okay.
in a bathroom, some public restroom somewhere. And so the idea was talking about fun graffiti that we saw
Right.
different places or in bathrooms or whatever.
Yeah, that could be kind of fun. I feel like it's more fun to like share pictures of that kind of stuff though than to talk about it.
Maybe there was some graffiti on the wall of the apartment building like across the street from our last apartment in Brooklyn that had a picture of Milhouse from The Simpsons, and I think it said Elon Musk is a Mexican.
I remember that.
And I just don't know if that was
Every
a
time we
weird racist thing or a weird.
Every time we walked by it, I wondered.
Eventually, I think somebody like crossed it out the Mexican part and wrote like idiot or something.
Yeah.
But
Which that one we
that
all
one,
understood.
Of course, I don't know why Milhouse is there, but sure. But I really don't know what your message was supposed to be about him being a Mexican.
Yeah.
Are you Mexican and you think he's cool? Are you racist?
Is this pro Elon Musk?
Yeah. Are you racist and you're racist, so it's a diss, but you're also against billionaire? Like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so that's the kind of thing we could talk about.
Mhm.
Or back in Seattle, I remember there was a bunch of bars you could go to where somebody wrote shit barf really big on the wall. With like an asterisk.
I lived in Seattle my whole life and never saw that.
Oh, I have a picture I can show you. I have a picture of it. I showed it to somebody and they're like, oh yeah,
Guess
you
I
can see
was-
that all over the place.
I guess I was going to the wrong
I
bars.
guess so. Or maybe they were in the men's room and that's why you didn't see them. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a whole different universe.
True.
The men's room versus the women's room. I've gone into men's rooms occasionally when like the women's room was occupied, if it was like a single
Yeah.
bathroom, because like who cares, right?
Yeah,
if
yeah.
it's only a one person bathroom.
If it's a one person bathroom, why is it gendered at all? But,
Yeah, exactly. But it always smells so bad.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know what kind of graffiti you get in the women's rooms, but
I mean, there's graffiti in the women's rooms,
Yeah.
but it does not, it smells fine in the women's bathroom. Like, is it, I don't
I
guess
know.
that's the cost of like urinals,
yeah, maybe.
but
I don't know.
it smells like pee so badly in there. And I don't know how you guys do it. You should use a women's restroom once in a while because
I
it's
mean,
a whole other experience.
I use our home restroom all the time. That doesn't smell like terrible
yeah,
pee all
that
the
doesn't
time.
smell like pee. We don't have a urinal in there.
Yeah. I think a lot of times there's just like one thing about urinals is that people can come and go pretty quickly, and that's the point of them, right? But you
Yeah.
do end up with people like splashing a bit on the floor, and when 1,000 people do that, you have a fair amount of pee splashed on the floor, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. But like you could hang out in a women's restroom. Like we hang out and talk in there. I wouldn't want to hang out and talk in a men's restroom.
No. Well, I wouldn't either, but I don't think I would want to hang out in a restroom anyway. But
Yeah, it's sad that it is sad to me though that men don't get to have that like drunken camaraderie that like women become best friends when they're like drinking at a bar together. Like we're in there like touching up our lipstick and
Yeah,
having
yeah,
a
yeah,
conversation and so many lovely conversations with people throughout the years.
sure. So we could talk about the culture of public restrooms, I guess. as part of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's much to talk about as far as men's rooms. Maybe this is an argument for like gender neutral bathrooms.
Maybe.
Because like it'll open up a whole new world to dudes and people that present as dudes.
I guess so. A whole new world. Let's move on from that. Number 79 was an actual play podcast, except ... where we do some twist on it. Like every week we have different rules, or every week something changes. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be fun.
But
I think we discussed it would be a little bit difficult to do with just the two of us.
Just 2 of us, yeah.
Just the two of us.
Number 80, play video games while dealing with a baby.
We've done that now.
We have, and it's not really podcast. It's just a struggle that you do.
Yeah, actually, I mean, he is playing independently now. So
you can kind of play.
There's really not much to it.
Yeah, well, until he comes over. I was actually playing a game. I was playing Hades on Switch, and I was holding him because he got fussy, but I was trying to finish what I was doing in the game. And he jammed his finger in I had the analog stick over to the right or whatever, and he jammed his finger in there so that when I tried to jam it back to the left, it
pinched
jammed
his little
finger a little bit. Yeah.
Oh.
So I guess there's that kind of thing to be careful of.
Don't hold the baby while playing video games.
Yeah, I guess.
PSA.
Number 81, committing Sudoku, which I still think is a pretty funny idea for a podcast.
Just doing Sudoku on
doing
the podcast.
Sudoku on a podcast and describing the board. And okay, on this one we've got a 9 in this spot and a 6 in this. Right?
This is.
And you say it in a real calm voice, and people just listen.
This is Insomnia, the podcast.
No, it's the opposite. It's the Put You to Sleep
it's
podcast.
The Put You to Sleep podcast that I pitched.
Number 82, a podcast hosted by 2 wise trees. That's an idea from the Barbie movie. There's a scene where Will Ferrell's character says something like, you wouldn't even understand what would happen if the Barbie world mixed with the real world or something. And some other guy was like, you mean there'd be a podcast hosted by 2 wise trees or something like that.
I forgot about this completely.
Yeah. So we talked about that a little bit. I don't know what it would be. We would be the trees, and I don't know what we were saying on the podcast, but
you just wanted to say a podcast hosted by 2 wise trees.
Well, I mean, I got an idea from the movie.
Yeah.
I should bring it up.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to discuss there because I don't know what trees discuss.
Yeah.
I don't know what makes a tree wise.
Are trees just always wise because they're old?
They've just seen so much.
They don't have eyes, so they haven't seen shit. But yeah, so I don't know. They've experienced a lot, I guess. I don't know. But I mean, there's young trees too.
Yeah, well, those aren't wise trees.
I guess not.
So fuck those trees. Do wise trees get annoyed with little saplings?
Oh, maybe.
You young whipper sapling.
You've barely been planted there 20 years. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Those
what makes it? Is 100 years like a teenager for a tree?
Maybe that's more like 2 reactionary trees or something. But podcast where we analyze voices and work on our impressions. So that's a continuation, I guess, of earlier ideas, and we would just be trying to come up with good impressions of stuff, and it would be the audio of us failing at doing impressions a lot, probably.
Yeah. Does anyone want to listen to that?
No one does, probably. Number 84 was 2 Eeyores giving sex advice.
This sounds like an SNL skit.
Or a great podcast.
I don't know if my Eeyore impression is up to snuff.
Yeah, I don't know if our Eeyores are
I guess you just kind of sound sad.
You just kind of have a certain inflection.
You just sound depressed.
But you also kind of sound like you're never quite done with what you're saying. But you are.
All right, so give me some sex advices, Eeyore.
Make sure that your partner is having a good time, and that will help everyone have a better time in general.
Don't talk like this while you're having sex.
When your partner does something great, be like, yippee, thank you. This is also
Don't say yippee thank you during sex.
This is also kind of sounding like Stephen Wright a little bit. You know, that comedian?
Yeah, he's kind of got an Eeyore quality.
Yeah.
Don't say yippee thank you during sex
It wasn't
is my
supposed to
advice.
be-
Is my
it
sex
was
advice.
supposed to be the advice that Eeyore would give, not
Yeah.
And you know what?
Do you
Eeyore has
think Eeyore
never
has-
had sex.
Do you think
Eeyore has never had sex,
and
he
he's
doesn't
never
know.
said yippee thank you.
That's also probably true. Okay. Well, number 85 was soup versus soup. So that's another
this was
play
good
on our
versus soup, but
good
soup
versus
versus soup.
Yep. So soup comparing
Minestrone versus clam chowder. Go.
clam chowder as long as it's New England clam
Incorrect.
chowder. As long as it's New England clam chowder, minestrone can go eat my butt.
I love minestrone
If it's
because it is
Manhattan clam chowder, they're basically the same anyway. Who
because
cares?
it's just like it's hard to find vegetarian soups. Minestrone is usually guaranteed to be vegetarian.
Okay, well that's fine, but I don't care about that, and I wouldn't care
I
if
do.
clam chowder didn't have clams.
Why
in
do
it.
you want me to not get any soup?
You could just have clam chowder without clams in it. You could have potato
That's just
chowder.
milk.
No, it isn't. It's got potatoes and stuff in it. It's delicious.
I don't want your
and-
potato water.
And it's not milk either. It's like a roux
It's
or
just
whatever.
sad mashed potatoes.
No, it's not. They're not mashed. It's not sad. It would be good. You could put your. You know what? You could put your fake chicken stuff that you like. That would work perfectly in that.
Okay,
soup
but
like
that's
that.
not clam chowder.
No, it'd be fake chicken chowder.
Well,
That's fine.
fake chicken chowder was not what we were comparing.
Okay. We had number 86, Tingler's Fan Finglers, where we.
I didn't know the soup versus soup idea was going to be so contentious.
Right. Yeah. Tingler's Fan Finglers. Was
I don't remember what this is at all.
It's a Chuck Tingle fan
Oh,
cast. I
right.
guess.
Okay, yeah, that could be kind of fun.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've only read a little bit of Chuck Tingle stuff, so
It's
we'd obviously
good.
have to do more
He's
of
good.
that. But yeah.
He's a treasure.
Trans Wizard Harriet Porber is very good.
Made me cry.
There is, hardcore dinosaur sex in it. So
If that
if
offends you.
that's not what you want to read, then you maybe skip it or at least skip those parts.
I mean, but it's
I love
good.
how
He's a
everybody-
treasure.
Everybody in those like eats spaghetti and then drinks chocolate milk to get drunk
Yeah.
for some reason.
That's kind of, I feel like that's a world you could get down with.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like,
I mean,
when we
I-
go out to bars, like I always like to, or not to bars, but to restaurants.
Yeah.
We don't really go to bars, but when we go to a restaurant, I always like to get a fancy drink because I'm probably not going to make one at home.
Yeah.
And I always think it's funny because I'll get like a really fancy drink and you'll be like, I would like a strawberry milkshake, please.
Right. I have actually had hard chocolate milk before.
Yeah.
I don't remember liking it very much, but
Yeah.
the chocolate milk part was good.
Yeah. There's boozy milkshakes that might be kind of good.
Yeah, but then I'd rather just have the milkshake,
Right. Because you're a child.
basically. We had number 87, The Debate Perverts, which was a debate podcast where we just debate random topics, I guess, and you hated that idea.
Yeah, I did, and I still do.
We had number 88, DDIY, Don't Do It Yourself, about bad do-it-yourself projects, I guess.
This is just us reviewing 5-minute craft videos,
Yeah,
isn't it?
basically 5-minute craft stuff, probably. We had 89, Skibbity Toilet War Correspondence, where we would
Report on the Skibbity Toilet War.
thing. The Skibbity Toilet videos where the toilet guys fight the TV-headed guys or the camera-headed guys or...
Now that you've mentioned it,
Speaker-headed
it's
guys.
going to be stuck in my head all day.
Yeah, that's fine. Fine for me, anyway. Number 90, a podcast about skeletons.
Well, it's not your head, so I guess it
Well,
would
it's
be fine
going to
for
be in
you.
my head as well, and that's fine with me. Number 90, a podcast about skeletons.
Could be fun.
Could be fun, just talking about skeletons. Number 91, Llama Enthusiast Podcast. So a podcast about llamas or a podcast about skeletons. Those are two completely different ideas.
Or a podcast about llama skeletons.
Llamas do have skeletons, as far as I know.
That's about all we have to say, really, I guess.
Number 92 is an Emperor's New Groove fan cast,
Still on board with this
which
one.
we did spend quite a bit of time talking about in that episode.
Always on board with this one.
Number 93 was Ipsos Custodios, which is a slightly wrong version of the Latin saying, who watches the watchman, quis custodes, ipsos custodes, or something. I'm not saying it quite right. I don't remember exactly, but it's something like that. And I actually don't totally remember what the idea was. It was getting stuff slightly wrong or something, but I can't remember. Number 94, a bad home improvement advice podcast, where we give advice on how to improve your home, but badly, I guess.
What would that entail?
We had, I don't know if it was this one. We had an idea about like putting candles in the freezer or something.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. No, it was
Like to make your fridge smell better or something.
yeah, pour candle wax into your ice cube trays.
Yeah, and then I think I said put wicks in and light them as well, and it'll
Yeah.
be fine as long as they're in the freezer because the cold counteracts the flame. I think that was that one. That's not really
Yeah.
home improvement, but whatever,
Yeah.
I guess. We had number 95, Bestiary Friends, which was like going through the monster manual and talking about interesting creatures in there for the D&D monster manual or other similar things, I guess.
I don't really want to do that one.
We had number 96, The Definition of Madness, where we are trying to convince people that the definition of madness isn't when you just try the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And that was like a joke of the podcast being the thing.
Yeah, because you're really annoyed by that saying. And I think I think, again, I don't take as much issue with that saying.
Yeah.
Because I get the sentiment. The sentiment is, I mean, I know that science is actually like, but you have variables,
Also
right?
practicing, right? Practicing in general is just doing the same thing over and over
Right.
and getting
But
different results.
the sentiment of it is you keep running headfirst into this wall thinking that the wall's not going to be there. Like if you run into it enough times, like it's if you want things to get different, you need to do something different because what you're doing isn't working.
Yeah, but the thing that I think like that is true sometimes, right? But the problem with the saying is that you're supposed to apply it all the time, and there are plenty of times when that isn't the case. You should just keep trying, and you can't tell what kind of situation it is until it either works or it doesn't, right?
Yeah, but
so it's not very helpful.
I think everybody understands it doesn't mean don't practice the guitar.
Well, but like if you try to practice the guitar a bunch and get discouraged because you're not getting better, does that mean that you're never going to get better or that you should just practice more, right? Some people maybe can't ever get better at the guitar, even if they practice a lot or whatever.
I tried, Miles. I tried.
I'm just saying like there's no, you don't know when applying it is good or not, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, like I don't think that anybody is applying it that way, but we could move on from this idea because I think that you might be bugged by that saying more than the average person.
That's probably true. We had number 97 and 98, creative ways to get a sunburn and creative ways to avoid a sunburn.
Creative ways to get a sunburn.
Sunburns. I got a weird shaped sunburn because of like where the spray was when we went to Florida, when we went to Disney World.
Yeah. I used to always get a sunburn on one arm.
When you're driving.
When I was driving.
Yeah. It happened to me too. Number 99, a collective noun of podcasters, where we tried to come up with collective nouns for things.
Oh, right.
That were better than what either they didn't exist or they're better than the ones that do exist.
Yep.
Or we found out that a group of cats is called a clouder, whatever the hell that is.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know.
We could certainly come up with something better, I think, was what we decided. But
yeah. A coven, we said, I think.
Oh, coven of cats. Yeah, that's what it's called.
We had number 100, the whimsical factory. I don't totally remember what that was. It was like we come up with whimsical factory ideas. Yeah, but I feel like there must have been more to it because I don't totally know what that's supposed to be, but yeah, something like that. We had number 101, guess the plot of a Buddies movie before you watch it.
Yeah, I think I came up with this one.
Yeah, you did.
And I think it wasn't as fun in practice as it seemed like it would be.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. You were somewhat right, somewhat wrong, because those movies are sort of unpredictably stupid.
Yeah.
We had number 102. This was from Svetlana, I believe. A podcast about memes about ducks on a skateboard. Moving on from that, I suggested number 103, a podcast about poetic meter, talking about anapestic tetrameter, dactylic hexameter, iambic pentameter, and so on.
I am impressed with your ability to just rattle those off without getting tongue-tied.
Yeah, there's nobody who wants to probably listen to that, really.
No.
But those are some kinds of poetic meter, and knowing about them can be fun, I guess. We had a garbage advice about garbage podcast, like put all your garbage in your garage and it'll make it real stinky.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Speaking from experience.
Yeah. We had number 105, which was your idea, lol pranked. And I don't totally remember what it was, but we prank each other or something or come up with pranks.
By the way, we're not just idiots. We put our garbage in the garage because raccoons kept going through it and people kept dumping their trash in our garbage can.
Yeah, we talked about this a lot.
Yeah, but for anybody that hasn't,
if you're new,
I don't know why you started with this.
You probably
episode,
shouldn't have started with this one, or maybe this is a good recap. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, that lol pranked was about coming up with pranks, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like that guy on New Girl who either does way too much or way too little for the pranks.
Winston.
Yeah. Number 106 was 10,000 Nasty Draculas, where we talk like Draculas and talk about a topic that week. So this week we're 2 sexy Draculas and we're giving sex advice. And next week we're 2, I believe you said green vampires.
If
and
she
we're giving
does
garden
something
advice.
you like, say yippee, thank you.
See, it is good advice. It sounds even better coming from Dracula. And that one was one you liked, but then we ended up with a a different one for that episode. But we also had number 107, My Bot Wrote a Porno, where I tried to trick ChatGPT into writing something at least vaguely pornographic. Didn't work that well.
Yeah, no, it was really hard to do. I mean, it sounded sort of dirty, but
yeah, but it like has
but
built
mostly
in,
it was just weird.
it has built-in stuff where if you try to get it to say sexual stuff, it will basically just barf and die and not do it. So you had to be really sort of circumspect about it. I got it to talk about boinking and jaboinking and doinking
And orbs.
and swaying heavy orbs or something like
Heavy
that.
orbs.
We had podcast about embarrassing personal anecdotes, number 108.
That was actually
I think
that was the one
about
where
your
I
cousin.
told my cousin's story.
Yeah. Or maybe you told on both of them. I don't remember.
But you didn't want to recount any embarrassing
Nope, I
personal anecdotes.
don't like
Do you
doing
have
that.
anything now?
Nope, sure don't.
You don't have anything
I've never
embarrassing?
done anything embarrassing in my life, actually. Weird fact about me, never done an embarrassing thing ever. Number 109 was It Could Be Worse, which I think was from our friend Lori, and I can't remember what it was now.
No, I thought this one was for me, but maybe I'm
maybe
wrong.
it was your one.
I think this was
because that
me.
episode had a bunch from her.
It Could Be Worse was just basically something we think of a terrible thing and think of
right,
a thing
like,
that could be worse than
You stepped
that.
on a Lego. Well, you could have stepped on a
Cat poop.
landmine.
A cat poop. Yeah,
Which is
you
what we
escalated
said,
it.
Which is what we said in the episode.
Yeah, you escalated it quite a bit.
Right. Okay. And then these ones were from Lori. Jingle Jangles, where we talk about jingles. Unlikely Doppelgangers, where we talk about two things that have like the same name, like Gwyneth Paltrow's daughter Apple and an actual apple. I
Or
guess.
Apple the company.
Or Apple the company, maybe. We had number 112. This was my idea, I think. Back in my day, we come up
with fake
stories from back in the day. And
Back
talk
in
like,
my day, we had wooden nickels.
yeah.
People would counterfeit nickels because it was the easiest currency to fake.
Well, that might actually be true. That is probably why there were wooden nickels, right?
Were there wooden nickels? I don't know.
That's why it's a saying, like wooden nickels. Don't take wooden nickels.
What? I've never heard that saying.
Then where did you come up with wooden nickels?
I
That's
don't
a thing.
know.
You totally have heard that.
Maybe I have.
That was a thing. People made fake nickels, basically.
What?
Anyway, it's fine.
Okay.
Number 113. Don't correct me if I'm wrong. You don't need.
Which
to
is you
Google it.
just did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. I said wooden nickels didn't exist, and you told me they did.
Okay. Well. All right. Number 114 was a small talk podcast. I feel like we're starting to get towards ones I remember pretty well, where we both just try to make small talk as if we didn't know each other.
Oh yeah, I was worse at this than you were. You
kept trying to make it interesting.
I kept trying to make it interesting.
Yeah.
Because I'm just too interesting.
Yep. Because it's just so hard for you not to be interesting.
Yeah.
And then there was number 115, our 24/7 weather podcast.
Yeah, where we make podcasting our entire life and don't have time to play with our child or have jobs.
Right. We feed Rory while we're podcasting. We eat ourselves while we're podcasting because we're putting out a podcast every 15 minutes where
Yeah.
we try to read the weather in as many places as possible in that 15 minutes.
Yeah, it sounds awful.
It's both like not valuable to anyone because you can always
Including
just
us.
look it up, and also terrible for us to
Yeah.
make. Yeah.
It's bad all the way down.
Good job, me, on terrible idea. Or was it me? I think
That
it
might
was
be
me.
that was definitely you. And that might be the worst idea we've had.
Well, don't be too optimistic. We also had a 116, a creepy weather podcast, which I guess was like making up weather and weird, and it was weird, creepy, like a Night Vale kind of thing, something like that.
I don't remember that, but
It was kind of an addendum to the other weather podcast thing.
a small addendum.
Yep. Then we had your idea, number 117, Fuck You, Bill Maher.
Uh-huh.
Which, that was basically like making fun of Bill Maher's dumb new rules thing or whatever.
Yeah. Or any Bill Maher stuff, really. Like, why limit ourselves? But basically just hating on Bill Maher and talking about why he's wrong about so many things.
Yeah. But then
the
we would have to
downside
talk
being
about Bill Maher.
we'd have to talk about Bill Maher.
Yeah.
We'd have to ingest Bill Maher content.
Right. As little of my mind that can be spent on thinking about Bill Maher, the better, really.
Yeah. Fair.
We had number 118, Time Cops, which was watching movies that are like period pieces and talking about anachronistic stuff in them.
Yeah, and I feel like that one requires a level of expertise that we may not have.
Right, but then we moved on to the idea of watching movies set in the future that nobody knows what's anachronistic or not.
And we just make it up.
Saying that we know because we're from the future or something, I guess.
Right. We're future people.
Some kind of podcast where we pretend that we're from the future could be pretty fun, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Possibly. I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you think that would go?
Hello, people from the past.
Because if
we're
you're from
the future people.
Because if you're from the future, you have to talk like this.
You talk like you're from the future.
You talk like you have seen some things.
Yep. And you know things, convenient things that you need to, yeah.
And you just sound like, oh, really, all the time.
Right. Oh, you think that's what's going to happen? You have no idea. Yeah.
All knowing. This is the all knowing voice.
I guess. Yeah.
Because if you go to the future, you come back as God.
I think it's not that we went to the future. We're just from the future. So we are like gods to these past people. Right. We went to the past, which is now.
Hello, past peasants.
Yes. Peasants of the past.
Peasants of the past. Wow, people are assholes in the future.
I guess so. Or we are anyway. We had idea number 119 on this list, which was Ask the Experts.
I don't remember what this was.
It was your idea, I think, and it was we pretend to be experts about stuff.
Why is it expert?
Because we're not actually experts.
Oh, right.
So, yeah, experts doesn't make that much sense, but that's what we came up with.
Yeah, I don't know why we came up with that, but I think I vaguely recall this.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a theme of me liking to, wanting to start a podcast where we pretend to know things.
Right. Well, I do that too, but it's like knowing about being a wizard or knowing about.
This is more like mine's a little bit more harmful. Let me just lead people actually astray.
Right. Well, we talked about how it would have to be really silly, obviously bad stuff.
Yeah.
But then we were talking about woodworking or something. Yeah. Anyway, that one would be tough. I think it could be fun, but we would have to figure out a way to sound like we know what we're talking about.
It wouldn't require research, so it's got that going for it.
Right. Well, it might though to sound a little bit like we know what we're talking about. Right.
Right.
I don't know. We had ornithology, where we're horny for them birds, I think was what it was, and that one was some kind of bird thing, but I can't remember what it was anymore.
Was it really just being horny for birds?
No, not like literally horny, but like I think it was just. It was, I don't know, something about
bird sex your panda sex?
No. Don't go there with it. It wasn't, it was horny in a platonic way.
That's not.
Like they horny for this one. Right?
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Right.
Yeah.
Platonic horny.
Yeah. A spicy way of saying excited, right?
Okay. Yeah. I do feel like horny for birds has other implications.
Yeah, it does. And I don't know, ornithology, it was stupid. I didn't even remember what it was exactly.
You know, I do think that if you're going to be horny for something, it can't be something with two eyes.
Like an animate thing. Yeah.
Otherwise, it just immediately goes the other direction.
Right. Yeah. Number 121 was Stupid Al Yankovic, which was making up really stupid song parodies and imagining, number 122 is Into the Yankoverse, where we imagine different versions. There's a weird Al Yankovic in our universe, but other universes could have a stupid Al Yankovic or a sexy Al Yankovic or and all the songs are stupid or sexy or whatever.
Into the Spider-Verse, but
Into the Yankoverse.
Into the Yankoverse.
Which is pretty good.
It also sounds kind of dirty.
That's true.
Where are you going, bro? Into the Yankoverse.
Oh, I don't want to hear about that. I'm putting a sock on my door because I'm going into the Yankoverse. Number 123, a podcast where we pretend to be famous. So that one was like, we just pretend that we're famous people because people like to listen to podcasts with famous people on them.
Right.
And so we just act like we're famous, but you just haven't
heard of us.
Happen to not have heard of us, which would not work because that's not why people don't like podcasts with people who are famous just because they're famous. It's because they already know who they are.
Right.
Right. Obviously.
Right.
But
so bad idea. It would be kind of fun to pretend to be like a famous influencer.
Yeah. Or YouTube person or author or who knows.
That's what you just say. I'm a famous YouTube person.
Yep, that's what
It
we
sounds
say.
very believable.
That's what we YouTube people say. You can take it from me, a famous YouTube person.
You can take it from me, a famous YouTube person.
Yep. 124 is a podcast about tongue twisters. That was on my solo episode where we try to make up tongue twisters.
Oh, right. Yes. That was where you just were by yourself.
And I was the one on the podcast,
doing
only
tongue
me.
Twisters.
Yeah, that was the thing.
It was an interesting episode. I thought you held your own.
I don't think I did, but I technically did hold my own because there was no one else there to hold it. But
You did a stellar impression of me.
I did. That's true.
It was spot on.
Ginger Bomb. Which
Whoa,
one was
there's
talking?
two of me here right now.
We had that episode also had words are weird. Number 125. I don't remember what that was. It was just talking about words, I guess. I think it was talking about the etymology of something. Oh, it was about how the phrase gin up comes from the idea of sticking ginger in a horse's butt.
Oh.
Which you should always do before you sell a horse so that the other person buying the horse won't think the horse isn't like excited and cool or something. and before ginger, they also did it with live eels.
Yeah, so who was the first guy who was like, this horse...
This horse needs some pep in its step.
Yeah, I know what I'll do.
Yeah.
Live eels.
Live eels or ginger.
Do you think they tried dead eels first?
Yeah, I mean, who's handling live eels to begin? Who's got live eels just on hand?
Yeah, I mean,
who's got live eels around in case they want to do experiments on sticking things in a horse's butt?
And did they try other spices first? Were they like some pepper?
Right, pepper. Oh, that was too much.
Spicy.
Too spicy.
Some jalapenos? Nope.
No way. We'll try a tomato. Nah, not enough. We need some ginger. Yeah. I don't know if that's like a real thing they did or if people just thought it would be good or something, but
yeah,
but that's apparently possibly where that phrase comes from.
I could think of some phrases that I would like to know where they come from. Shank of the evening is one of my favorites.
What is shank of the evening?
It's the best part of the evening.
When you get shanked?
No. I know.
Or when you get to shank someone.
It does.
This is my shank of the evening.
That was my first thought, but it is apparently not the part of the evening where you attack people with a shiv.
It's shank like the leggy part of an animal or something. Is that what a shank is?
I think.
Or is that a flank? Am I thinking of a flank? Or flanks
no,
and
shank is part of a leg as well.
Okay.
There's a flank and a shank. I think the shank is lower down.
Okay, sure.
Like in the calf area,
And
the flank is the thigh area.
Okay, so the evening's got nice calves is what we're saying.
Yes.
Okay, and that's the part of the evening we like to be in.
The shank of the evening is the liveliest, best part of the evening, if I remember correctly.
Interesting. I don't know. Maybe I've heard you talk about that before, but I've never used or otherwise encountered that.
I think I showed it to you once when it came up on my Facebook memories because I was really excited about it and I posted about it.
Okay.
And I was like, I learned this phrase, which apparently does not mean that the evening is about to attack you with a shiv.
Right, sure. Okay, so a wordy podcast about word stuff.
Mm-hmm. Phrases.
Certainly a kind of podcast that I would make if I was just making a podcast about something I'm interested in, I guess.
I find the origin of phrases more interesting than like the etymology of things, I think.
That's still etymology.
I mean, the etymology of individual words is less interesting to me than like what made people decide to start saying shank of the evening.
Right, where do idioms come from?
Yeah, idioms. So like, why do people say, I've got other fish to fry?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know specifically.
I mean, I don't know either, but I want to know. You know, they say in France, they don't say I've got other fish to fry.
What do they say?
I've got other cats to whip.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
That's better.
It's much better, right?
And they call it Le Big Mac.
Le Royale with cheese.
Yeah. And in France, you know why they make omelets with only one egg?
Why?
Because one egg is enough.
You've told me that joke, and I feel like you've told it multiple times, and I always ask why.
It's a
I
good
always
joke,
forget.
because in France, one egg is enough. It's a good
joke. It is.
I'm pretty sure I took that from Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. which is a good book.
That is a
or at
good
least I
book.
liked it when I read it. a
So
long
see,
time ago.
I have read that book as well, and still,
Yeah.
still,
Well, clearly that joke didn't make as much of an impression on you when you read it as it
no,
made on
because
me.
you keep telling it, and I keep asking
Yeah.
why. I think because my brain immediately goes, "Is that true? Do they only use one egg?"
I mean, you can use one egg in
You
an
can use
omelet
as
here.
many
is-
eggs as you
yeah,
want, right?
It's one or more eggs. It makes an omelet, right?
Well, are you sure? Because I heard you have to break a few.
Yeah.
I'm clicking and pointing my fingers. The audience can't see it. But I was
Yeah.
really proud of myself for that one.
Yeah, that's a kind of a weird phrase because it suggests that like
You're making an omelet on accident.
yeah, like the breaking of the eggs is very purposeful, right? It's not like you broke a few eggs and then you also got other eggs that you put into the omelet, right?
Right.
Like it sounds like you're saying like in order to make an omelet you have to like
Screw up a bit.
screw up some eggs or something, but
Yeah.
breaking the eggs is not screwing up. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
But my point is just that phrase origins and word origins could both go on one podcast, right? We could definitely do a podcast with both of those. And
Yeah,
that
I
would thematically
suppose.
make
I
sense
guess I
together.
will allow it.
Okay. So that's words are weird. Our next one, number 126, was what does water taste like? And that was like considering philosophical questions and taking them kind of too literally, like what's the sound of one hand clapping,
Yeah.
right?
Lisa, listen up.
Yeah, I think that was on The Simpsons and
Yeah.
stuff like that, which that was kind of whatever. Then we had number
I like 127.
127 was frogs question mark.
What?
What?
I mean, what? I don't remember.
Oh, it was just that was what I wrote in my notes about a podcast idea.
Oh.
And then
Did you expand on this? Yeah, I don't remember what frogs question mark was about.
what I said was I guess a podcast about frogs. I bet Ginger would want to be here for this.
Oh.
And then
Oh, right. This was on your solo episode.
yes.
Okay.
And then
Yes.
to skip 128 for a second, 129 was frogs question mark again, where you and I talked about it.
Okay.
Yes. After you were back. 128 though was what was our podcast about, which is a talkback show for this podcast.
Oh, right.
Which
right.
is only the talkback show.
And it's us doing the talkback
Yes.
for our own podcast.
Right. And but we're not even doing that. What we're doing is a talkback where we pretend that we're talking back to an episode that we didn't actually do. Right. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe your idea this week was frogs exclamation point. When we already did frogs question mark last week.
Yeah.
Or what, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it's you know what? I might have been wrong about the weather podcast being the worst idea.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why I said like I feel like there are other ones that are at least as bad, or maybe bad in different ways. But yeah,
But the frogs one is good. It's a good idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
So frogs again. We talked about. I like that this episode we're doing right now, where we go through our ideas. Anybody who like actually listened to all these episodes and remembers things is probably yelling at us, being like, "Oh my God, you already talked about this," or like, "Can't you remember that you already did this?" or whatever. So maybe this is a terrible idea, this episode, but anyway.
I mean, no one's forcing you to listen. Maybe you already turned it off. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Maybe hopefully not.
I mean,
maybe you have.
Hopefully we've added a few new things.
Yeah, hopefully you have fond memories of those episodes and it's like a nostalgia thing now, right?
Oh my God, I can't believe they're talking about frogs again.
Okay, well, on that note, number 130 is a Michigan J Frog fan cast.
Everyone wants that.
Yeah, that was
Everyone
we
knows
talked quite a bit.
He's the best frog.
We talked I don't know if everyone would agree that he's the best frog.
Okay, I mean, our honorable mention to Kermit.
Okay, Kermit's a good frog.
I don't think he's better than Michigan J Frog though.
I'm just saying there's a number of options. I don't know if I would automatically give it to Michigan J Frog without considering more.
His name is Michigan J Frog.
That's true, but I don't even particularly like Michigan. It's fine. Part of it looks like a mitten.
But it's a great name. Michigan J Frog.
What do you think the J stands for? Jeffrey? Jason? Jehoshaphat?
Just.
Michigan Just Frog?
Jelly.
Jelly, okay. It's okay. We don't have to keep thinking of J words.
I want to.
Okay.
Juniper.
Juniper, Michigan juniper. I bet actually it's possible we could look it up, but I don't think we should.
Yeah, I don't want to know.
All right, let's move on. Number 131.
I don't think and I don't think our listeners want us to keep talking about
No,
this.
I don't think they wanted us to talk about it as much as we already have. Probably. Number 131 is Literally Screaming. That was the ice cream podcast.
Oh, yeah. I was very proud of that title.
Number 132 was Just the Part You Skip, where we talk about...
Just do ads, right?
We talk about ads, but we're not sponsored. We talk about brands that do a lot of podcast ads, like Casper mattresses or, I don't know, Squarespace or whatever.
Yeah.
And we talk about them in the hopes that us talking about them will make them want to sponsor us, I guess was the idea. And it's the part that no one wants to listen to. So that one, again, might be worse.
Which might be the worst idea.
Yeah, it might be one of the worst so far. We had 133, reviewing children's music. We talked about Snoop Dogg's album and the Happy Song, probably by Imogen Heap, that we listen to a lot because it works wonders on Rory.
It's witchcraft.
Yeah. And then we talked 134, Presidents of the United States of America, but not the political office fan cast.
It's a fan cast for the band.
The band, but Presidents of the United States of America, who, as far as I know, are not like still together or touring.
No,
or
I
anything.
think the guy does solo stuff. He's done some kids albums.
Yeah, that's why
I think
we
that's
started
why we
talking
talked
about
it, right? Yeah.
135, we had Funny Names podcast, and that was talking about funny name, like, because we've had a number
You were
of
excited about this
Yeah,
one.
there
You
were-
like the silly names.
Yeah, there was a number of ideas in the past that were different kinds of funny names, and this one was a bunch of funny names from Baldur's Gate, Bunt Chugly, which
Bunt Chugly's
honestly
pretty good.
is very, very good.
Bunt Chugly.
Bunt Chugly.
Yeah. That made me think of Slats Bentley.
Slats Bentley, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, can we talk about Slats Bentley just for a second?
Yeah. Do you want to do a Slats Bentley podcast?
I kind of do, and I'm surprised it hasn't come up yet.
I am also surprised.
Slats Bentley is a character in the movie Space Buddies, a movie we have briefly talked about a few times. Maybe not that briefly. It's one of the Buddies movies.
We've
It's a spin-off.
definitely talked about buddies a number of
Yeah,
times.
we've talked about Spooky Buddies and Space Buddies. So it's a spin-off of the Air Bud franchise. If you haven't happened to have listened to those episodes, it's a spin-off of of Air Bud, the movie where the dog plays basketball. And these buddies are 5 little dogs with 5 little humans that go with them, and they each have a name that is, a pun on Bud, like Butterball, Rosebud, B-Dog is the rapper one.
Are there people out there that don't know about these
Oh,
movies?
for sure.
Oh.
Hopefully most people.
They're sure living a blissful
Most
life,
people
aren't
probably
they?
don't know about these movies because they're garbage, like straight to DVD kind of things or whatever.
People know about Air Bud, though.
Yeah, Air Bud probably. We did do a whole episode about the Buddies Beyond as well. But anyway, point of all that was just that Slats Bentley is a character in the movie Space Buddies.
Yes.
He's a NASA scientist, or not a NASA scientist, but a scientist guy or whatever at a place similar to NASA,
A
but
nebulous
like private.
scientist guy.
Yeah, he helps them launch stuff to space. The thing I want to talk about though is just why would you name a character Slats Bentley? Why would you ever name a character Slats? Where did that come from? No one's named Slats. Slats is not a good name to come up with for somebody, right?
Is this why you're so fascinated with this character?
Yes, for sure. Why would you name a character Slats Bentley?
Do you think they knew somebody named Slats?
Nobody's named Slats. How could they know someone?
But that guy is.
No, he's not. He's made up. He's fictional. The actor's name is Lachlan Monroe. The character is named Slats Bentley. Why would you name what? I mean, Bunt Chugly at least is like silly sounds. Slats is a word. Bentley is a kind of car, but cars don't have slats really. And slats is a very boring object, right? It's not
Yeah.
even really an object. It's like an arrangement of boring objects.
I mean, you are right. I did Google Slats Bentley and I'm not finding any other guys. I'm just coming up with cars and beds.
Yeah, exactly.
And Space Buddy stuff.
Bentleys are a car. Beds have slats. A few other things have slats, but that's about it, right? It's not a name. It's not like somebody gets called Slats as a nickname, right? Like it's just one of those. It's like kind of like our Tiny Mysteries episode where it's like I just can't see any way that you get to this.
I bet you could probably like get in touch with somebody who worked on Space Buddies and ask.
Maybe.
I bet they're not that. I bet like most of the people involved in that are probably not like receiving so much email that you wouldn't be able to.
you might be right. I guess I could try.
Maybe you don't want to know. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know that there could be any satisfying answer. Maybe they just like maybe they just found like a random name generator or something. Anyway, so that could be on our Funny Names podcast. Slats Bentley.
Yeah.
Why would you name him that? Anyway, okay, so number 136 was what did we Google this week?
Right.
Which turned out to be pretty boring.
Turned out to be a lot more boring than you would think. That was one of your sister's ideas.
Yeah, that was suggested by my sister Sarah. We also had spilled.
It was a good idea, and I thought it would be interesting. So maybe we're just boring.
Possible. But also the stuff that was being Googled is boring. So I think most people are boring as far as what they Google.
Yeah.
It was like sports.
Or trying to get to a website.
Yeah, it was like sports or trying to get to Facebook or something. We had Spill the Tea. 137 was Spill the Tea. That was your idea that we drink tea and then talk about it.
Mm-hmm. It was like a tea fan cast.
Which was similar to the Make Miles Drink Coffee one in that I don't like coffee or tea.
Yeah.
And you want to make me drink them for some reason.
The tea one was mainly just, I really thought the name was good. So I was like, well, I gotta bring this to the table because it's sometimes the name comes and you're like, well, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, brain, I guess so.
138 was Absolute Units, about the biggest things in different categories, like the biggest animals, blue whale.
Oh, right. That's the one where we're going to travel to see the biggest ball of yarn.
Biggest ball of yarn, the biggest ball of twine, actually, I think it was. Can the biggest ball of twine fit in the biggest coffee cup?
The biggest cup of coffee. We were going to take a quick
road trip to Korea or Mexico.
Korea. I think it was in South Korea, right?
Yeah, there was one. No, it was, but there was a newer record set in Mexico, which is technically possible to take a road trip to from where we live.
We're gonna just take a quick trip across the border.
Yeah, Absolute Units is one that I would actually probably do as a podcast potentially. Like we would have to do a little bit of research, and that we would have to like look up stuff about whatever the biggest thing is, but I think that would be a kind that I would find fun.
Yeah.
Also, I have a book. Actually, I think Svetlana has it. A book of I think it's called Giants of Past and Present Land and Sea and Air or something like that. And it's like an illustrated book of just all the biggest animals, like dinosaurs and whales and all that stuff. But it has like nice paintings of them, and then like little figures of people next to them to like show the scale of them.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It's got like giant sloths and all kinds of prehistoric animals like that, and whales, and I don't know, probably giraffes and stuff to show like the tallest animals and all that kind of stuff. So that'd be an easy way to do some of that research, I guess.
As long as everything in your book is still accurate.
Well, that's true. But either way, I would be interested. I would be into it enough to look up what's the biggest animal in this category. What's the biggest building? What's the biggest
so that's
whatever.
one where I find the subject interesting. I don't know if it's going to make for interesting audio, but the research part would be fun.
Yeah, I feel like there are going to be interesting facts to go along with every big thing, right?
Yeah.
Like if nothing else, we could compare things, right? And be like the blue whale is the biggest animal, and it could easily drink 5 of the biggest cups of coffee or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, because we could easily look up like how much blue whales are baleen whales, so they suck in huge amounts of water and then filter out the little krill or whatever that's in the water. So there's an amount, a volume of like water that is going through into their mouth all the time. I'm pretty sure you can look that up, and then we could compare that to the biggest cup of coffee, stuff like that.
No,
right?
I just remembered the horrific fact about whales now.
Oh, that their veins are big enough that a human baby could crawl through them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, at the time when I brought that up, you didn't think it was that horrific. Maybe just compared to some of the other facts.
No, but I didn't think it was horrific at first, I feel like. But then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, that's still good content for a podcast, right?
Yeah.
It's still good content for a podcast.
Maybe if we do a podcast about absolute units where we like consistently use babies as a unit of measurement.
Yeah, sure. How many babies could fit in a blue whale's mouth? or whatever. Actually, that's
How many
that'd be
babies would
fun.
you have to stack end to end to make one giraffe neck?
Yeah, or from the ground to the top of a giraffe's head. Or
How do you
something.
find that out, though?
We would have to have a standard baby that we assumed a size of, right?
Yeah.
We'd have to pick like an average baby size of at a certain age.
Yeah, like you
age
got
or
to pick
whatever.
an age, right?
Yeah,
Our baby's currently about 30 inches, so.
right.
All right. Well,
Point
so
is,
moving on.
I think that could actually be a real podcast that would be fun to make. So
Yes.
something to think about. We had number 139. What's up, you cool baby? We're getting towards the end of the list here, and a lot of these are pretty recent ones.
What's
so.
up, you cool baby? Which one was that?
That was your idea, I think, and I don't really remember. It was something about babies, like many of your ideas. It was something about babies.
Well, I spend most of my day with a baby.
Yep.
So
No, I'm not
what do you
saying.
want from me?
Makes sense. But if you don't even remember what it was, then
It must not have been a very good
yeah,
idea
I guess
because
we'll
I
keep
don't
going.
remember what it was. And apparently it was recent.
Yeah, it was pretty recent. Number 140 was The State fan cast.
Yeah.
The State being the 90s sketch comedy show with Michael
Michael
Ian Black, Michael
Showalter.
Showalter, Ken Marino, Joe Trulio,
That gem of a
David
show
Wayne,
that,
all
that
those people.
did not last nearly as long
The
as
thing
it
with
should
the
have.
I'm a the Pope.
That's okay.
That's okay. Yeah. Which I put a clip in. If you haven't watched that clip, you can look it up on YouTube. It's so stupid and it sounds really stupid to hear about it, but every time I show it to people, everybody laughs.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's funny and it's stupid.
Yeah.
But it's funny.
Yep. Okay.
Really, I'm getting more eloquent the longer into recording we go.
Yeah. This is a long one, folks, as you probably noticed from the fact that you can see what the time is, and if you've been listening this long. Okay. We had number 141. Don't correct me if I'm wrong again. And that one was
What is that one on there a second time?
well, it was because you came up with it, and then I was thinking about it more and brought it up again, which was like cursed facts, or facts that we learned about at one point and then later found out wasn't true,
Okay.
or facts that we found out weren't true but we didn't want to know they weren't true, like how many people, like a lot of people are upset about Pluto not being a planet anymore or whatever, or the thing about Candiru fish swimming up into your urethra or whatever.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Number 142 was our Miss Rachel Talkback Show idea, which we could definitely do. You know,
We certainly watch
we
enough.
have enough experience to do it, but no one would watch.
No one wants.
No one
wants
wants
that. No one asked for this.
No one who watches Miss Rachel, no one who likes watching Miss Rachel, i.e. babies and children, want to listen to a podcast talkback show.
Yeah.
And nobody who listens to talkback shows likes listening to Miss Rachel.
Do you think there's at least one person out there who just throws on Miss Rachel?
I mean,
wants to-
there's all kinds
somebody
in the
for
world.
everything,
Yeah,
right?
There's like 8 billion people in the world, so probably one person maybe, but but that's not enough to sustain a podcast audience.
Even
right?
less people. We could make a podcast that even less people would listen to.
Right. If we thought that this current podcast was too popular, here's a new idea. Okay, and then we talked about Bluey Talkback Show as well.
That one
143.
could actually maybe already exist.
Yeah, I mean
Bluey's
there's
a treasure.
A lot of people are fans of Bluey beyond just babies and children.
Yeah.
Because it's an actual show produced like a show, even if it's aimed at children. It's not like Miss Rachel.
It's poignant.
Is if you have it, like, well, yeah, it's got narrative, right?
It's got
characters.
narrative. It'll get you right in the feels at the it gut punches you usually.
Some
at
of the
end
episodes
episode.
are pretty, can be poignant for sure. Like Miss Rachel doesn't really have a narrative, and it's just like instructing children how to say mama
Yeah.
and how to, count to 20.
Well, it's made for a much younger audience than Bluey.
Yeah, and it's also not a narrative cartoon, like real show like
Right.
Bluey is. Yeah.
Yeah. Once our son is old enough to understand Bluey, he will be too old for Miss Rachel.
Probably. Yeah.
He will not be interested in Miss Rachel anymore. It's weird to think that time is going to come because right now he's 1 and Miss Rachel is basically like his second mother.
Yep.
That again makes it sound like I just park him in front of the TV. But I mean, he will ignore me for her.
Right. Yes. Okay. So we are coming into our home stretch here. We've got number 144, 10 left. Don't Talk to Me Until I've Had My Amphetamines, which is like an ADHD podcast. We talk about.
Which I think could be interesting.
Could be. Don't Talk to Me Until I've Had My Amphetamines is a fun name. I don't know you could really name a podcast that. We're already kind of stretching the limits on what should our podcast be about.
Yeah.
Right? As far as the length of a name of a podcast.
Ah,
I'm not sure
yeah.
you could even put Don't Talk to Me Until I've Had My Amphetamines into the podcast name field or whatever.
I think also you might attract some people that think that this is just a drug enthusiast podcast.
Yeah. I mean, we are in some ways drug enthusiasts, or I am, I guess, in that I am much more enthusiastic about life when I'm taking my medication, I guess.
Yeah. Also, when you said that title, it always makes me think of I keep getting ads from Reductress for some of their products, and there's a mug that says "Don't talk to me until I've had my abortion."
Huh. I think I understand that joke. I think so. That could be on our joke
I
theory
thought that was
podcast.
pretty
We could talk
good.
about that. But number 145 is a bad ASMR podcast and or a podcast about good or bad sounds, where we talk about sounds that are good or bad and or play sounds that are good or bad. And nobody who likes ASMR would get the ASMR feelings from that podcast. So it would be bad at being an ASMR podcast.
Except everybody probably has their own ASMR that they like, and there's somebody who likes just about everything, right? So maybe one guy will be really into our podcast.
Maybe. I mean, ASMR is supposed to be like a phenomenon that happens to you with certain kinds of sounds, and it's supposed to be not about sounds that you like per se, but like certain sounds trigger this like tingly brain feeling or whatever. It's what it's supposed to be. ASMR, I guess, has sort of just come to mean any sounds that people find pleasing or something. But
Yeah.
anyway, I don't want to do that regardless.
No, I mean, I don't either.
We talked about number 146, a Fourth Wing podcast, which I still have not started.
But we are about to take a very long
We're going
car
to take
ride.
a long car trip, so we'll probably listen to it on that.
I liked it so much that I'm excited to listen to it a second time.
Yep.
So
Yep. We'll see how it goes. 147, a birthdays podcast about birthdays. Whose birthday is it in history today?
is this a podcast we do every day?
No, it would be like whose birthday was this week, probably.
Oh, okay.
What interesting birthdays happened this week?
I just wanted to make sure this wasn't like
It's not a daily
a hardcore
podcast.
commitment like the weather podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Who was born in the last 15 minutes throughout the history of humanity? And we put it out every 15 minutes. No, not that hardcore. We had number 148. A podcast where we mumble the whole time was that idea, which by the way was freaking annoying to when I was in the editing stage to like, cause even like it's useless if you can't at least hear the people mumbling. So I had to like boost the audio on our mumbling just so that you could tell we were even mumbling.
So
it was
what
very,
you're telling me is you would be really excited to edit
yeah,
a whole hour
if we
of
do a mumble podcast,
You quit?
You're the editor. You get to edit it. We had 149, a podcast where we just yawn the whole time because you couldn't stop yawning in that episode.
Can't ever stop
And
yawning.
you're yawning, and now I'm yawning. I don't.
To be fair, it is almost 10 o'clock at night.
This would be an easy podcast to make, but not one that's anyone would listen to, probably.
Yeah.
It's more of just a audio sample creation project than a, like, if you need a yawn sound for your project, here you go.
If your ASMR is yawns, we have you covered.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a thing, but okay. Anyway, we had number 150, Every Day I'm Suffering.
Yeah. I think about this one actually at least like pretty often at this point.
Yeah, because you suffer every day.
No, I just think about it because I'm like, is he miserable?
Oh.
Is he miserable?
Well, a little. A little miserable.
What can I do to make him less miserable?
Well, that's nice of you to think about. No, it's more like just lots of little indignities you suffer every day, right? Like everybody does anybody who's doing stuff in their life at least, right?
I mean, your example was the cat poop right?
Well, my initial one was Rory pooping. Rory pooping, me changing him grabbing the poop, me getting poop on my hands, him getting poop on his face, poop
I
like
still can't believe I missed him getting poop on his face.
yeah,
I feel like that's a milestone.
yeah, not a good one.
Not a good one, but I missed it.
Yeah. Anyway, it was
Thank
just
you
not
for
a
letting
very
me sleep in, by
yeah,
the way.
not a very fun time that morning. But you know, and also, you know, I'm almost 42. I'm going to be 42 in less than a month, which, you know, my back hurts, my legs hurt, my foot randomly started hurt, my ankle randomly started hurting today.
Yeah,
for
you
no
should
reason.
maybe go to the doctor.
Well, it just comes and goes. It's just like, I think it's just having bones that are this old, right? And having bones
I
at
mean,
all
it's not that
was
old.
kind of a mistake.
Yeah,
No,
having bones at all was a mistake.
It was a
You
mistake.
should have stayed jelly.
It's like the I think it's the opening line or somewhere very early in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy where it's like,
In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and been widely regarded as a bad move.
yep. Anyway, so that was that one. That's that idea. Also, I don't really like that party rock anthem song that much. I just like saying other things that sound that fit the meter.
Yeah.
Every day I'm shuffling, like right, like
I
just get
often
that
just,
little thing stuck in my head and just think of other things that fit in there.
I often have the Winston from New Girl pop into my head where he's like, because he's really, it turns out he's colorblind because he's not, and that's why he's so bad at puzzles, but he's really into doing puzzles even though he's terrible at them. And there's just a part where he's singing and going, every day I'm puzzling.
Right. Yeah.
I think of
that's
that
fun.
a lot.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I don't, that song is fine. It's stupid or whatever.
Yeah.
LMFAO is fine, whatever, I guess. I've heard a couple of their songs, whatever. It's just it's
fun to parody.
It's just that little part with that like guy kind of quietly saying like a little phrase there. And then the like, wah, 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 like the crazy like beat drop there or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Is fun.
Some things are just fun and easy to parody too.
Yeah. Yeah. We had 151, Diapers Bop, where we experiment with different songs we can sing to Rory while we're changing his diaper.
Mm-hmm. We've kind of been doing that already.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's anything
Yeah.
as far as podcasting goes.
It's fun though. In real life.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. I don't know.
When it works.
Diapers Bop is also just kind of a funny name for a podcast, I guess. Or
Diapers
for
with a
anything.
Z.
Yeah, Diapers with a Z. 152 was your Bad Religion podcast idea. 153 was Thesaurus Criminals, where we talk about new words we learned from thesaurus or
fun.
whatever. And then 154 was the weird Mormon stuff thing. So there we are.
Yeah. Wasn't that one my outro idea though?
Yeah, we did. I did a weird Mormon fact and a cursed fact for our outro for that episode, but we didn't use it as our like main episode idea or anything. And it was slightly different than the Bad Religion idea.
Wow. 154 ideas.
Yep. And this podcast started in May, so we even had a couple months we weren't podcasting.
Please send us your ideas. Stop making us work so hard.
Yeah, we come up with a lot of ideas that are,
as you can see,
almost universally terrible. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're at quite a bit of time for this long episode. We won't be here next week, by the way. So that's why you're getting a long Spectacu-ganza or whatever.
Long boy
episode. So do we want to talk any more about any of these, or have we talked enough about them?
I feel like we've talked. I mean, there's not anything where I feel like I have more to say.
Do you have any of these that you think we should revisit in the future as potentially a real idea to do for a podcast?
Potentially we watch all of Nicolas Cage's movies. I think that could be fun.
I could think that could be a real thing. Or the one where we watch a different animal, movies based on a different animal.
Yeah.
For a season or whatever.
Yeah.
I also honestly kind of want to do the Absolute Units podcast. I think that would be pretty fun.
Yeah. I think we should, maybe the few that we are interested in exploring further, make sure we note those down. And maybe in the new year, we at some point make a whole episode of one of these.
Yeah.
Just to see how it goes.
This podcast that we're doing right now, I don't think always has to be what it is right now, where we're pitching podcast ideas the whole time. I think some episodes could just be one of these podcast and ideas and we try it out or whatever,
Yeah.
right? We watch 5 bear movies and then talk about them or something,
Yeah.
right? See how it goes.
Maybe we take a vote at some point and say like, which of these ideas would you like us to bring to fruition?
Yeah.
10 listeners.
I would put this list on Spotify as a poll, but you can only have 7 items in a poll on Spotify.
We could pick our favorite 7.
So that would take 22 polls to do all fit 154.
I mean, we could pick our favorite 7.
Also,
I don't think anybody's gonna take all of those polls.
No, of course not.
So
no. Well, the other thing though is that
I mean, we could
this
just
list
pick our
is-
top
this-
3 too.
this list is only ones we didn't talk more about, and I think there are ones we did talk more about that we would also want to do.
Yeah.
Potential, like honestly, all beans. I would be into doing an all beans podcast for like 3 or 4 episodes before I probably would get tired of it. I feel like, but like,
Really?
I feel like I still think about it.
You still
I
think about that
like,
one all the time, huh?
Just like it's a funny idea to review beans and stuff, and just like act like we would act
like somebody wants that.
yeah, act like we've got like beanhead listeners who are real into this idea and are like avidly following us, right? Like, what's up, Bean Nation?
Yeah.
Like,
All right. Well, maybe in the new year.
and there are other ones too that are good, or like that wizard idea, right? Like, I honestly think that could be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Although, like, some of the ideas I'm thinking, like some of the ones that I think we're gravitating to are actually ending up being less intense as far as the improv goes, right? Because the Wizard podcast is all improvising as characters, right? And that's hard. And research is also hard, but a little bit of research and a little bit of improv is easier than doing a lot of research or a lot of improv, right?
Right.
So I don't know. I think we are probably not going to talk more about any of these right now. I think talking about podcast ideas is our podcast idea, and we have done that. So we've fulfilled our contract to you, the listener. So I hope you enjoyed this little retrospective of the year.
Please do follow us on social media, like and subscribe to our podcast and rate us. Leave us a review. If you leave us a review, we will give you a shout out on an episode. And please do send us your ideas. You can find all of our social media links on our website, which is coolpodcast.website. We are on Instagram and Threads and Twitter at whatshouldpod. And you can email us at what@coolpodcast.website.
Feel free to let us know if you thought this was a terrible idea for an episode that we for our year-end Spectacu-ganza.
Or if you thought it was a great idea.
If you don't let us know, and if you thought it was a bad idea, we will do it again next year probably. So
Yeah.
you'll have no one to blame but yourself if you don't give us feedback about that. We do also, I mentioned,
They'll probably still blame us.
which is fair. I also do put questions and polls and stuff on Spotify. If you listen on there, you can answer those, and we'll probably read those out if you give us answers on there. But yeah, welcome to What Should Our Outro Be About? The outro where we try to figure out what this outro that you're listening to right now should be about. I'm still here.
I'm also still here.
Okay. Do you have any outro ideas for today?
No, give me a minute. You go. I never
have-
prepare for this part. I always forget about it.
That's fine. That's fine. I have a few. We talked in the past about potentially playing a good sound and a bad sound at the same time,
Yeah.
like a really pleasing sound and a really unpleasant sound.
Yeah.
If we were going to do that, what sounds would we use, do you think? We talked about like maybe a baby laughing or Rory laughing or whatever.
Baby laughing would be a good sound. Bad sound would be like squeaky styrofoam.
Yeah, or nails on a chalkboard or something.
Yeah.
Or like a slide whistle maybe, or like there's a video game that came out not very long ago, but I forgot about it, but I was recently reminded of it, which is like a Guitar Hero type game but with a trombone, but it's like even doing well, it sounds terrible, and that's like the joke of it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you remember
No.
this?
Okay,
well, that could be a funny thing, but if you don't remember it, then I guess it doesn't really work right now. Is there a worse sound that everybody hates more than like, I guess like an alarm sound maybe? Like
That-
but
that's pretty
I don't
bad.
know. I guess I can probably find nails on a chalkboard somewhere on the internet that's legal for me to use.
Is this the one we're going with?
Well, do you have another idea?
We
At some point, we're going to do this one, I think.
I don't. I was to say like we give a life hack at the end of the episode.
Oh, okay. Do you have a life hack?
No. We could do the weird sounds.
Well, we'd have to come up with life hacks.
Yeah. We could do the weird sounds. I mean, if you're going to do it at some point, let's just go out with a
bang
with
for
a
the year.
bang. Yeah, with a good bang and a bad bang.
Is there a good speaking of going out ending the year or whatever, is there a good like New Year's or Christmas or something outro thing we could do?
Oh.
What do people fireworks? What do people do at New Year's? And,
New Year's is fireworks, but Christmas
or just like solstice.
we could just each give our favorite thing about Christmas.
Nah.
No.
Do you? I don't know if I even have a favorite.
I know yours is the Grinch.
I mean, I just don't know that I have a. I mean, getting presents is cool, I guess. I mean, well, I don't know what's
getting together with people that you haven't seen in a long time. Being inside where it's warm while it's cold outside.
That is nice.
Cozying up with people in your like slipper socks.
Yeah, we don't
watching a movie.
We don't even have snow. We just have rain right now.
I know. It's very sad.
It's boo hiss. Well,
all right.
Is that it? Is that what we're doing, or are we doing the good sound and bad sound thing?
Do good sound and bad sound. Let's go for it.
All right. Here's a good sound and a bad sound played at maximum volume and at the same time. And I bet when you add a good sound and a bad sound together, you get a bad sound. Is my guess. So here's that.
Right.
Okay, thanks for listening.
Bye.
What was that podcast about? I'm trying to figure it out.